Good morning, and we're live on Augment Your Week. It's August 24th. Can you imagine? It's almost September. And for many of you who have children going back to school at least for a day or two. We'll see how that progresses over the next few weeks. A couple of minutes at home by yourself, perhaps. And I know some of you decided just to homeschool your children. So blessings to you for taking on that endeavor. What an interesting time in the history of the world. And it's time to take on one of the most important topics. I'm going to do my very best to go there this morning, and I do hope that I can serve all of you. This is a little deep because it really takes us to the very foundation of living. And it's there that we find one of the greatest gifts we have as a human being, and one that we often undervalue. My mission this morning is to bring it to the surface, have us take a look at it as clearly as we possibly can, and then make a better choice. The topic of today is it's your right to choose. Your right. It's a right to choose. Choose what? We'll discuss that. But we want to stop waiting for permission. It seems like we need permission to take on our health, permission to take on our finances, permission to take on a relationship challenge, or etc. It's your right to choose. Now, if we look at the word right and choose, inevitably we go to the word free will, words free will, and free agency. This world is based on a foundational principle of free will. Now, there are places on this world where people cannot practice this right. In the United States of America, we have this right. It's not perfect. We've got our challenges, but it's the very best place on this planet for practicing free will. As scientists go macro and micro into the universe, they also discover that free will is a governing principle of all creation. Free will, the right to choose. Now, there would be those who would want to control us, to take away our right to choose. Some even think that it's in our best interest because we may not make a good choice. But the right to choose, whether we give that to a child, what do you think you should do, son? I trust you'll make a wise decision. Because sometimes we try to control our families, our homes, our businesses, everything around us to get to a certain point, and we actually violate in the lives of others the very principle that we want to treasure ourselves, our right to choose. Just want us to sit back for a moment this morning and ask ourselves, am I even aware consciously that it is my right to choose? I remember vividly when one of my daughters was going to college, and for the summer she took one of those jobs at a youth camp where they took kids into the wilderness. They took away their shoes at night, had them sleep right next to each other, kind of rolled up so no one would run away. They'd be in the wilderness for like 2 weeks, then she'd have a week off, then 2 weeks, then a week off. And it was about a night before she needed to go back, and she said, Dad, I just can't do this. I can't do it. Well, tell me more about that. At the end of the conversation, I said, you have the right to choose. You could choose not to go back. Are there people depending on you? Yes. Are there kids depending on you? Yes. You have the right to choose not to go back. You have the choice to go join the army tomorrow. You could join the army. Now, for her, that wouldn't fit. For some, that would be a logical choice. My grandson, who is a Marine and and just finished with his officer training school back in Atlanta. He's wanted to be a Marine since he was 8 years old. That was his choice. For my daughter, it wouldn't necessarily be an obvious one, but she could choose to do that. It's her choice. She had the right to choose. It's her life. Now, sometimes we make choices that aren't healthy, and we learn lessons. And hopefully we do learn them so we don't keep making choices that are harmful. But we have the right to choose. We actually measure in the Habit Finder assessment the 6 measurements that impact our ability to do this. I'm going to use them as a backdrop this morning. If you happen to have your Habit Finder handy, pull it up so we can talk about this, so that we can leave this morning empowered to make choices. The first measurement, the definition for self-directed. Now, in the math that's used in the assessment, there are 18 levels in that mathematics, and the third most important measurement in our entire personal life, this is my life, the dialogue I have with me about how I would like it to be, how it is, how I feel about myself. That's my most personal dialogue. The third most important measurement is being self-directed. The only 2 more important is loving what I'm doing and loving myself in my world. There's nobody else in my world, just in my world. Love myself, 1, love what I do, 2, and I'm self-directed. I'm going to give you the definition. Acting on my own moral authority. Doing the next right thing for the right reason. Because I want to, get to, and choose to. That's the right reason. I do it because I want to, I get to, I choose to. Now, there may be some on the call who go, well, that's God's choice. No, I think. Actually, I believe. That God wants us to get to a point where if we worship him, we don't do it because we have to or need to or should or must or fear of consequences if we don't. He wants us to love him because we choose to, want to, get to, I choose to. Can you feel the power in making a personal, intrinsic, that's in the deep soul of your being, visceral. You're making the choice, I want to, I get to, I choose to. That is the foundation of all of your decisions for your life. How are we doing? Far too many have a habit of thinking that wants them into have to, need to, should, must, and fear of consequences if they don't. It's like carrying a backpack full of bricks around. It's as if they need permission to take it off. It's your right not to wear it in the first place. It's your right to stand up and choose what you want. I think one of the most beautiful things to come out of this COVID pandemic and the quarantine is self-reflection. What do you really want? Well, just an update. Ramona and I wanted to live in Huntsville on the side of Pineview, beautiful lake, and look down at it every morning when we wake up, close to our kids, a place they would love to come. We can still come to all of the events and not have a cabin in Bear Lake that keeps drawing us away on weekends. Love to be there. It's a lot of energy to go back and forth, and have a house to take care of here, have 2 big properties, combine them into one that can handle everything that both of them did collectively. We made that decision. We made that choice. It was our right. And we chose. And it's all coming together so beautifully. It's just incredible. In 3 weeks, on a Monday morning, I'll come to you It'll be the last thing I do that week in business because the movers will be here and this house is being moved and moved into that house. Then the cabin's being moved into that house. It's actually happening. Now, I had all kinds of questions. Wow, am I being materialistic doing that? What happens if we're too far from the children? What happens if like I needed permission from everybody else to make the decision? Just Ramona and me, we're partners, 50-50 partners. That's our choice together. We chose. And that's your choice. Right now, what are you choosing? Some are choosing to homeschool. Some are choosing to send their children to school. Some are choosing to look for different employment. Some are choosing to start a home-based business. Some are choosing, isn't it wonderful that we're in a space now where we're going, I'm going to act on my own moral authority, doing the next right thing for the right reason. So I want to, I get to, I choose to. It's your right to make that choice. You don't need anyone's permission. It's the third most important measurement in your internal world in the assessment. The second one's interesting. It's all about, okay, if I'm going to make this choice, how do I do it? And far too many need to do it perfectly, which means it'll probably never happen. Or some are just so terribly discouraged they don't even want to think about it. Just with excellence. Did it work out perfectly? No. Do you know how many problems we've solved in the last 2 weeks? This house, the cabin, that house we're buying. Oh my goodness, there's been tons of them. This is part of the process. The overarching is the most important. We'll take care of all the details. Ice maker. Our ice maker broke. I'm thinking, and so did our agent, that for a couple $100 we get it fixed. He fixed his for $200. The guy came. It was not repairable. Well, it was. It cost half as much as a new one. $997 to replace the motherboard and to clean it, and he wasn't going to guarantee it would operate when those two things were done. So Friday, Ramona went down to our local appliance store and bought a new one, $1,900. That was a $1,700 expense we weren't planning on. Good karma. The buyers are going to get a brand new ice maker. Isn't that awesome? No concerns. You're going to run into those things when you make choices. Choices aren't free of challenges. They're just your right to make. So don't try to seek perfection in them. Seek excellence. From an intentional perspective, what's your vision of this? So many people think about choices. They fantasize about choices, where they would like to be. But they don't ignite their passion, drive their action to actually do the work to create it. I was in my book this morning, the garage, the sale of the house, the sale of the cabin, the purchase of Cortina, all of the things that we're selling. By the way, we had one family come in and buy almost all our furniture that we're selling. One family, it was incredible. There's a page for the move in each one of them. Left-hand side, created only in my mind. Right-hand side, created in tangible reality. Remember we talked about that? So that we can actually make things happen, so that we don't have that intentional measurement, that vivid visualization causing us to think that if we think it, it's done. Now we can have confidence that if we think it, it's a done deal. Let's just get all the details done, but we still will want to do the details. That's part of the choice. You make the choice not to just move to the lake. You're making the choice to do every little detail required to get from where you are to the lake. And if you've got a dream of creating a lake house, and you take where you are and you take all the millimeters and you just keep working them, And when everything on the left side of the page is on the right side of the page, you have a lake house. It's not complicated. That's part of the choice. Another part of the choice is coachable, being open to ideas. Agent calls and says the buyers of the new house need to be in a day early. Day early? Yeah, the people who are going to put new carpet in the lower level of the house can do it on the 15th or like 6 weeks from now. And they want to do it before they move their furniture in. I'm going, okay, the piano's being moved that day at 8 o'clock. The movers will be here. What part? So we'll probably still have stuff we're moving from upstairs, but the downstairs will be open so they can put the carpet in. We worked out the details, open to suggestions. What do you think we could do? Here's what we're facing. Let's brainstorm. We don't want to be so closed to ideas that when we make a choice, we can't address all the issues required in the execution of it. Last, fifth, being resilient. Are we going to get knocked down in the process? Are there going to be some things that are going to take us down? Well, Friday, if we weren't in this space, an extra $1,700 for the ice maker might take somebody down. But it's what was required. It's part of the decision. I had the right to make the choice. We made the choice. That means, again, you decide you're going to choose all of the pieces required to make that happen. And lastly is being decisive, being able to make a decision and cut off all options. Your right to choose is the right when you make it to say, whatever it takes, I can make this choice. It's not like, well, back to the permission discussion. I believe one of the drivers of why we think we need permission is because in these habits of thinking, we don't want to make the wrong choice. Everybody got that? These are systemic thoughts, right, wrong, win, lose, life, death, all, nothing. They're dualistic. There's no Pantone color schedule. There's no grayscale. It's either or, and we don't want to make the wrong one. So sometimes we need someone else to tell us which one or give us permission which one. Dear God, tell me which one. I think God says, why don't you pick? And then I'll bless you in the execution. Which color car should I get, blue or red? I don't know, maybe purple. We can't make decisions sometimes, and that translates into taking the responsibility from our shoulders and wanting to place it on somebody else. That might be a mentor in our business. That might be a partner in our business. That might be a spouse. That might be God. Please, you make the decision, because then I can hold you accountable when it doesn't work, right? Well, can we make the decision? We make it. The right to choose requires us to make the decision, cut off all options, and begin the journey. Will it always turn out the way we planned it? No. Might it end up very different? Could be. But we probably won't get to where we're supposed to be if we don't decide and move. Okay. You doing all right this morning? This is so foundational because we're sitting here waiting for permission to be healthy. We're waiting for physically healthy. We're waiting for permission to be financially healthy. You tell me which stocks I could invest in versus doing our own homework and participating in the decision because we don't want to be accountable, perhaps. That uncertainty, sometimes buried in don't want to make the wrong one. And relationships. Our sweet daughter, who just got married a couple of months to the most amazing human being. Oh my goodness. 17 years lived in hell. We all knew it, but she never said anything. She was just so loyal. And one day she'd had enough. She'd had enough. She had the right to choose. She chose. Bless her heart. Alimony lasted for a while, then stopped. I'm probably going way too personal. But the part that I want to share, she went back to school, got her degree. She's a therapist, started a practice. It's booming. She's an incredible human being. She's an opera singer. And in the right moment, after 4 years of prayer, frankly, the right guy shows up. Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful she chose to use her right to choose. Now, sometimes we choose to be a different kind of a person in the relationship, less selfish, more focused on the other person, and we can mend a relationship. Sometimes forgiveness is required. Those are really difficult choices. But it is our right to choose. Or health, or finances. Well, finances, yeah. But it's all dependent on, it's dependent on us showing up, making a choice, doing the work, following through, being consistent. Those are all our choices. We'll be as wildly successful as somebody else with lots of years of experience, maybe not initially, but it can be eventually. But it's your right to choose. Let us leave here this morning committed to embrace and execute on our right to choose, your free will. Og said it in scroll 1. I have surrendered my free will to these years of accumulated habits. I just went through them with you. And the past deeds of my life have already marked out a path which threatens to imprison my future. And right after that, he said, we must destroy these habits so they don't destroy our future, and dig new furrows and plant new seeds, create new habits. So these habits of thinking don't keep us imprisoned. That we, in fact, get out of that unhealthy habit of thinking, that chair over there, and get into the observer's chair. Get here sooner, stay here longer. Because the hallmark, the foundation of being in the observer's chair in charge of your life is your free will, your right to choose. Blessings to all of you. If you haven't taken that habit finder, go get that. If you've got anybody who's struggling with choice, share this with them today. Let's see if we can't inspire and encourage. That means to add to their heart, encourage, inspire, breathe life into them. Let's give people some hope today that really is their choice. That's their greatest gift. Thanks, everyone.